With that said, though, let's get to the offseason vitals of the Dallas Mavericks to kick off the Southwest Division. Notable moves. They acquired Christian Wood for Sterling Brown, Trey Burke, Marquise Chris, Boban Marjanovic, and the number 26 pick, which turned into Wendell Moore Jr. They signed Theo Pinson to a one-year deal. They signed Jaden Hardy, the number 37 pick, to a 3-year, $4.8 million deal. That was part of their mini MLE. They used the rest of the mini MLE on JaVale McGee for a 3-year. I have this as a $4.8 million deal in my notes. That is clearly wrong. A 3-year, $19 million deal with a 2024-2025 player option. And they also signed Tyler Dorsey to a 2-way contract. Notable exits, and I would say this is a pretty damn big notable exit. Jalen Brunson left for the Knicks on a 4-year, $104 million contract. Grant, what grade did you give the Dallas Mavericks for their offseason? And wait, I need to correct myself again. It was a 3-year, $17.2 million contract for JaVale McGee. If anyone doesn't believe me, there's a Google Doc with 1,200 words in it that I sent to Grant, and I have JaVale McGee listed as 3 years and $4.8 million. Please explain that one for me, Grant.
That would be a pretty good deal. My grade would be higher, I think. Marginally. So I gave Dallas a C-, which is going to seem high based on consensus and based on what I know about you. I'll start with the good. The good is I think the Christian Wood trade makes sense. I think it feels like the kind of move that you're getting a very talented player that has mostly been on bad teams, who I think probably has had no small part in building a reputation as a guy that's kind of out for his numbers and maybe is not super helpful to a winner. I think playing in Dallas is really the first chance he's going to have with a few years under his belt to really like matter. And so I think there's a scenario, maybe it's just being optimistic. There's a scenario where he really helps them. Like he becomes a second option that's like at least as good as Brunson, potentially, like a guy that just really scores it, really stretches the defense, really matters, takes the load off of Luka, which has been the issue forever there, in kind of a different way than getting like a true point guard or whatever. So I think there's upside there, and I think the price was totally reasonable to pay to get a player as talented as him. Maybe he kills their defense. Maybe it doesn't work. I like the gamble. So that's the good. The bad is kind of everything else, except another reason that the C- is in there for me and not something worse is I don't feel like I have a handle yet on what exactly the circumstances were of Brunson's free agency. Now, you can certainly penalize the Mavs for the low ball, the extension stuff earlier, not getting it done sooner, maybe pissing him off. But at the same time, they had the opportunity to offer the 5th year and more money. I guess that didn't happen. I don't know if they got a real shot to make that offer. I heard reports either way. I think if that were the situation, if they just decided that we're not going over 104 million or whatever over any number of years, then that's a mistake and their grade needs to be in the D range. I just don't know that to be true. Maybe you can correct me. I don't know if you know that either. But so it's a C- now because I think losing Brunson hurts. If they lost him for the worst kind of reasons, which is just cheapness or whatever, that's bad. But I do think it's, Spencer Dinwiddie, I think, has played a bigger role in the past. He was actually pretty good, really good for stretches for Dallas last year.
Except when it mattered most, but please continue.
The loss of Brunson can sort of be backfilled, especially if Wood works, better than most think, or as well as maybe I think is possible. Just to sort of canvas the whole rest of the thing. The McGee signing, he's not going to close games. It feels like
him though, apparently.
Well, yeah, he'll be the ceremonial starter. That's fine. I just feel like that was a reaction to, man, we really can't defend the rim against the Warriors in the conference conference finals? I can't even remember now. This was so long ago.
Conference finals.
So they had stretches where with Klebo as the lone big, like it just didn't work. And they're like, let's get a tall, rangy guy to block shots. Like he's not going to be on the court at the end of games. So you kind of just, I don't know, maybe you want to preserve Klebo during the year because he tends to break down. But like McGee doesn't make sense on this team, especially with Wood on the roster. So it's a C- for me. Knowing the particulars of the Brunson situation could move that down substantially.
So let me get to what I liked about Dallas's offseason, and we're done. No, I like the Christian Wood trade overall. I think people are too low on him, and I think we'll probably see him play better defense on a team that matters.
Yep.
I also, I like the Jaden Hardy pick. The people and the contract, if he pans out, that's going to look really good for the Mavericks, and then you're going to get mad at Jaden Hardy's agent. Like, that's how this whole thing works. The people that think he's going to play like a role as a ball handler in year one, if that needs to happen, first of all, trade Frank Ntilikina to a team that will actually use him then. But in all actuality, it's just that's not a situation that you want to be in. So I like both. The Jaden Hardy pick seems like a good one, and the Christian Wood trade, I actually was supportive of that. I don't like the idea of him and JaVale McGee starting together, but one, that can change, and two, as you noted, like that's something that could be ceremonial and that you just stagger moving forward. I hate the JaVale McGee contract. I would have preferred, why not Hassan Whiteside at the minimum?
Drummond.
Honestly,
why not Drummond at his number?
What's that?
Why not Drummond at his number?
Drummond at his number. DeAndre Jordan definitely. Why not Dwayne Dedmon even at the number you gave to JaVale McGee? So I hated that. And then a player option entering his age 37 season. What? And this is, someone mentioned this. I can't remember who it was. Was this a circumstance where this deal was already done and then they didn't know they were going to be able to get Christian Wood for the song that they acquired him for? And that's still ding them for, like, you can't even tamper correctly. Then at that point,
doesn't make it better.
No, it doesn't. So I don't love the structure. Even if it was a team option, like I'd feel a little bit better about that. I also just don't love the player fit because now you have Wood and Dwight Powell, and you also have Maxi Kleba. So, and it's also just like every minute that you're playing with two bigs, like where Kleba's your four, Dorian Finney-Smith is not your four. And I think you unlock some of your best lineups where Finney-Smith and Bullock are on the court at the same time. But the big one here for me is the Jalen Brunson signing. So we know, per Mark Stein, that the Mavericks could have had him on that 4-year, $55.6 million extension twice. He was willing to sign it twice. They elected to keep their flexibility open for trades, which to me was always stupid because a player who is entering free agency, who also isn't making a shit ton of money, isn't going to help you a lot in trades because teams have to, one, factor in that they're going to pay him. And then two, he doesn't even work as like a salary matching tool because he was so cheap. He would have been inextricably more valuable on his next deal leading into or during next season. And the other thing was just that if you thought that was an overpay, did you not consider what the is going to happen to the cap climate as we're moving forward? And you were uncomfortable with paying Jalen Brunson an average annual value of what? That would have been like 17 million a year at 4 years and 55. That's terrible math. Was that 14 million a year, let's say? But you were totally comfortable giving JaVale McGee like 6. What? No, explain that to me. The other thing, and I think it's fair to ding them for that, even though the extension talks didn't happen over the offseason. And there were reports, and by reports, we know that Mark Cuban said that Dallas didn't really have a chance to present their deal to Brunson. Well, the reports were also that they were willing to go 5 years, $110 million. So they were basically willing to give Jalen Brunson about as much as over 5 as the Knicks gave him over 4.
Yeah.
And you're a team that can justify paying more because you have Luka Doncic already. And Brunson was really good. And when you look at this exact contract he signed, I don't think the Knicks should have signed him. But I think that's more about their organizational direction, the fit of the players around him, what I think is going to be their inability to create enough space so that he is as lethal inside the arc. But you could have paid him, and he is also, as of right now, projects as the 15th highest paid point guard in the league last year. I know you have next year. I know you have Luka Doncic. You were good enough, having just made a conference finals appearance. That was not a fluke. This was not the Blazers making the conference finals because of all those injuries. Yes, the Clippers weren't involved. The Nuggets weren't healthy, but you beat the fucking Suns and you embarrassed them in Game 7 to not even have an offer that would have come close, or I don't want to say close, but like relatively respectable offer in comparison to what the Knicks were prepared to give him. Why did you value this player so lowly? And you have Luka Doncic. What is the plan here to get better? You don't have any blue chip prospects to trade at this point. This to me was an instance of you sign Jalen Brunson, and then if you want to move him, figure that out later, because his number where he would have been he's the 14th highest paid point guard, excuse me. If he was like around that number as well for Dallas, like you would have been able to move him eventually if you needed to. So I think that they deserve to be absolutely crucified for the way that they handled Jalen Brunson from the middle of the year right on through this situation. And if they didn't get a chance to present their deal, I guess that's like a feather in their cap. But what does that say that your own player who enjoyed the best basketball of his career this past season en route to the conference finals wouldn't even give you the time of day to present your deal? It says too much about how you handled him in the past or about what your offer was going to be. So I think it's fair. I said I like the Christian Wood trade, excuse me. That's like really the only bright spot for me of them this offseason.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not going to penalize him. Obviously, not signing him for 455 is asinine. Like that's a huge mistake. I'm not gonna penalize him for that because it's not technically the offseason. Maybe, and which is kind of like disingenuous because like obviously it affected how he felt about
You're such a lawyer
in the offseason. I'm just saying, but
by letter of the rule.
if right, I'm just a rule follower. I'm just trying to follow some rules. If Dallas had the ability to go 5 for what was the most? Could they have gone like 120 something? 5 for like
They could
130?
have maxed him out if they wanted to. I'm not saying like that was the
So
right
if they
decision.
had the ability to pay him, because he's getting what 26 a year now.
So the Knicks front loaded it, but yeah, his average is out to about $26 million a year.
Average annual value of 26. If the Mavs had the ability to do 5 years at 29 per, just averaging it all out, or even 30, like I think it is a huge, horrible mistake, and they deserve to have their grade for me lowered down probably to where you're at. Which I don't know. Did you say what you gave them?
I gave them a D minus.
D minus.
I don't know if I said what I gave them. I gave them as a D minus.
It was implied based on just so I could get that low. I just still feel like it was just done. The whole Knicks thing was just done, and it may have been done the second that they didn't extend him earlier. But I don't know. There's too many, even though I know you laid it out. I feel like if it's the case that they could have given him 5 for, 29 million a year.
I don't know. What is your like reticence that they couldn't have his max salary was like 37.5 million, right? 25% of the 150 cap. So
I just feel like I don't think they would have gone that high. I feel like there's just a bunch of bullshit on both sides. And I feel like the CAA and Knicks stuff makes it plausible that the 4104 has been done for a long time. And
they hired his dad. I know he's a Rick Brunson. I know he's like worked in the league a bunch of times, especially under Tom Thibodeau before, but
right.
First of all, the audacity to not wait to hire him until like after this is all over. It's just mind melting.
Yeah. No, I'm sticking with my number because I have a sense that anything the Mavs could have done, it was like too late once the offseason hit. And I guess just because I'm just going to follow the rule that I don't know why.
Then why not win the press conference by throwing it, if it was done by going 5, just even including the 5th year at the same average annual value. So 5 years and 130 million.
Right. Yeah. It's almost, it's like unforgivable. If that was a real option and that could have, and he wasn't just, I'm already gone. I don't care what you offer.
It doesn't even, so they didn't even like win the,
they won nothing.
Yeah. They won no aspect of this.
Right. Agree.